1923 is the second spinoff of the popular series Yellowstone. But instead of Kevin Costner brooding in a cowboy hat, we've got Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren chewing up every piece of scenery as husband and wife fighting to save the Yellowstone Ranch. Much like its predecessors, 1923 serves up family drama and trauma with land disputes, old-school frontier justice with a side of prohibition and snazzy 1920s period costumes. With the show's second season dropping February 23rd, a few questions remain. Will the Duttons save the ranch again? Will sexy Spencer Dutton make it back from Africa in time? Will the chemistry between Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren remain off the charts? Is Taylor Sheridan single-handedly keeping Paramount Plus in business? Saddle up. It's time to save the ranch and ride into 1923. Howdy, little lady. You knew I was going to.
I was going to be sorely disappointed if you didn't.
Set me up.
Welcome to the Yellowstone Ranch. Yes. I am Jennifer Dutton.
Nice. And I'm Spencer something.
Oh, you've made it back from Africa. It's so great to see you.
Shh, don't tell anybody.
Got it.
Yeah.
I'm actually Jen Katz.
And I'm Ryan something.
And how's it going?
It's going great, Jenny.
Yeah.
Okay. You watched a pretty intense series recently.
Oh, I sure did.
On Netflix.
Uh-huh.
I watched it a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And after I got through the first two episodes and I thought this is one of the most graphic and just kind of like gory and just raw, intense shows that I've seen in a long time.
American Primeval on Netflix.
The name says it all. It really does.
Starring Betty Gilpin and Taylor Kitsch and not Kevin Costner, because for some reason I thought Kevin Costner was attached to this project. And when Ryan said he watched it, I was like, so how's Kevin Costner in it? Yeah. And Ryan, you were like,
I'm like, you have no idea what I'm talking about. Yeah.
But didn't Kevin Costner, he did just do a Western. That's what all the kerfuffle with Yellowstone was about.
He did a theatrical release.
Okay.
Which, yes, took up all of his time and bandwidth. And, when he tried to renegotiate with Yellowstone, basically he came to a standoff with the showrunners. And they called his bluff. And he moseyed in a different direction.
Look, I don't think Taylor Sheridan is somebody I want to fuck around with. He seems, dare I say, unhinged. We'll get into that. But yeah, they did. They called his bluff and they're like, okay. Yeah.
He'd cast in some shows, that's for sure.
Can unpack that at a later date.
And himself. Okay.
So we are here today.
Well, hold on.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Okay, so what did you think about American Primeval?
Oh, yeah. I loved it. So, we're just coming off of Valentine's Day week, and it's not exactly a show you want to watch with your romantic loved one, although that's what I did.
Yeah.
It is intense, to say the least. I mean, it's about this very specific time in American history that I don't really think I knew a lot about.
Yeah. Western
I knew
expansion.
Tangentially about the Mormons going to Utah and Western expansion, like you just mentioned, but I didn't realize that there was this like battle for that area between the Mormons, the United States, and the indigenous populations that lived there.
I love that it's an unromanticized version of the West. It's realism, which is, and perhaps a bit overboard.
Yeah.
Obviously for theatrical and dramatic emphasis. But it's a raw look at what the frontier lifestyle would have been like, especially for a single mother traveling with a child. And, everywhere you go, you're going to encounter a different type of individual or a different community. And, it's scary to think about, the courage that it took to put yourself out there, to, leave your home and everything that you have in your family and travel west, go west, Horace Greeley.
Yeah. And but also at the same time, you're leaving to go to lands that are already occupied.
Yeah.
not by the Mormons, but by the indigenous population.
Right.
It's all those other,
That's right.
They do a good job of, unromanticizing it.
You get a fair view of everyone's perspective.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's beautifully shot.
It is stunning.
Beautifully acted. I mean, Fort Bridger.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like a Disneyland ride.
Exactly.
Sometimes in these Westerns, you're like, okay, everybody's a little too clean.
And that's what I'm saying. I like it because it's real.
It's
yeah. I do a lot of history research and studies, and that's what it's like. And every time I come across these photos or I read these stories of people who, settled, further west, it's just fascinating to read about what their quality of life was compared to the type of lifestyles that we're all accustomed to today. But I love that the show, does a great job of pointing out the Brigham Young of it all, which was fascinating.
Shout out Kim Coates.
Yeah, really. Seriously. Yeah.
I only know Kim Coates from playing Tig on Sons of Anarchy. I loved Sons of Anarchy. Not dissimilar from Yellowstone. And Taylor Sheridan was on Sons of Anarchy. Yeah. And he was like completely unhinged and out of control on that show. So to see him as Brigham Young, a much more controlled,
oh man, it was sinister,
put together, but very sinister.
Really sinister. To me, that's real evil. It's the man that can look you in the face and stab you in the back. Make a deal with you one day and then pull the rug out from underneath you the next.
And using it under the guise of being told to by God.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I mean, it's theocracy in many forms, and it's just a really good show. I love how you're on this journey with this mom and this kid, and then you're wondering where you're going, and you're wondering what's going to happen, and you never know what's around the next corner, like they wouldn't have. And I really like that style of writing.
Yeah.
It not without some notes.
No, and I wish at the end, we won't spoil anything. Yeah. They could have had another episode. I feel like
one more episode.
They slammed the ending together. Yeah. We needed a little bit more time because it happens over 10, 11 days. Mm-hmm. And it's like
zip, zip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, like we said, Kim Coates as Brigham Young, yeah. Shea Wiggum as Jim Bridger. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He was great. Betty Gilpin as Sarah. Taylor Kitsch with his jaunty little head wrap.
I like that it kept moving. I did like that. I like that we didn't settle in any one spot.
That's true.
And get too deep in the weeds of who some of these characters were. We're just following along this journey. You don't know what's around the next corner.
Yeah.
It's frightening. It's exhilarating. It's well done. Yeah. So I'm glad you watched it.
Yeah. Thank you for that recommendation. Which, speaking of recommendations, we're here today to talk about another recommendation from one Mr. Ryan something.
I have a few.
Do you?
Yeah.
What is the other one?
Today we're here to talk about Hacks on HBO, starring Gene Smart and Hannah Einbinder. It is the most underrated comedy of the year.
Oh, wow. Well, on that note, let's get into it. Today, we are here to talk about season 1 of 1923, as well as anything that may or may not have happened in the, how many seasons? 5 seasons of Yellowstone, 1883.
Too many.
Basically, any Taylor Sheridan property is on the table. This is your spoiler warning. We won't spoil anything for season 2. We'll have maybe like a little predictions moment, but we have not seen any of season 2. We would love a screener. Send us one. But be warned, we're going to talk about season 1 of 1923 and anything maybe that happened in Yellowstone. So watch it, come back, join us.
Perfect.
All right. So,
Jenny.
Ryan.
1923. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
I'm so glad that you finally got around to
me too.
To watching it. It was a show that I didn't initially sit down and just start watching. It was something that I used as kind of a distraction when I was up in Colorado.
Yeah.
And
what a great place to watch it.
Oh, it was great. It was wonderful. So it just like hooked me and I couldn't stop.
Yeah.
And so I was ending one episode, just going straight into the next. Usually I skip over the intro, and I really
the intro is really pretty.
The introduction, it's beautiful. I love the swelling music. It really sets up this epic style drama series that I really hadn't seen something similar to that in quite some time. BBC is great at making these epic drama series. You don't see too many coming out of like American studios these days.
I mean, we've got some prestige dramas, but you're right. I mean, it's just not the same. You know, we've talked about Downton Abbey on this podcast. The American version, which I know Julian Fellows did, but it was American produced. What was it called? The Gilded Age. It doesn't have
that hook for me.
It doesn't. And say what you will about Taylor Sheridan, and there are some things to be said. The man
that a lot of people have already said.
His shows, even the opening montage for Yellowstone is really good. The music's great. The openers of the seasons, which we'll get into, are great. So yeah, I'm with you. The montage of 1923 is really well done.
It just hooked me. Yeah. And as each episode ended, a new episode began. There was just something about that intro that I was just captivated me. So I just kept wanting to watch and see what was going to happen. You know, one of the things that hooked me most of turning the show on was the casting. And the two principal leads, which are Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren.
Correct.
I mean, what a dynamic duo. Just the chemistry between the two, and the type of acting and actors that they are, it's just a perfect setup.
It really is.
Perfect. And I think that they really enjoy working with one another.
Yeah.
And you can tell that it comes across in everything that they do, every scene that they're in together.
Yeah. And so for those of you who are still listening and watching and you don't have any background on 1923, it's the second prequel of the Yellowstone series, which has been on Paramount Plus for, I think it ended with 5 seasons. Hold on. Yellowstone, just to give a little background so you know who's who. Yellowstone, the series, follows the lives of the Dutton family. The patriarch is John Dutton, played by Kevin Costner, and his 3 children, and all the shenanigans they get into trying to maintain ownership of their Yellowstone ranch in Montana.
Right. Yes. Generations trying to save this ranch from development.
Correct. Whether, development or takeover by some evil person. Like it's...
Yeah, for development purposes.
Is it always development?
Yeah, most of it. Yeah.
That's true. You're right.
Yeah, they want ski resorts and
hotels,
tourist traps and hotels.
Casinos.
And think of the tourism, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
Constant. Yeah.
So I watched Yellowstone. I think this was one of my before quarantine, because the first season came out in 2018. I feel like I had started watching it after my children were born, or my oldest, who was born in 2018. Anyway, I remember texting you and our friend Lucy about it.
Yeah, you told me about it.
And you guys watched, because I think we watched a few episodes, and you guys watched the first episode, which, trigger warning, a horse is shot and killed within the first 2 minutes. And you were kind of like, I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah.
It's intense. It is a barnstormer of an opener. I was hooked. I really, really enjoyed the first 2 seasons, especially. Season 3 is when it started to veer into soap opera, fan service.
Oh, man.
Yeah. It went from a prestige show to soapy.
Yeah, it was Dallas.
And good one.
And not as good as Dallas. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And
the characters just aren't there.
Full transparency, I have not seen all of season 4 and 5. I've seen a few episodes. Season 5, I've seen 1 episode, and it was the one where Taylor Sheridan's playing strip poker and dating Bella Hadid, and he
takes his shirt off
for no goddamn reason. And he's got this, Bella Hadid saying, when someone asks her, "Why are you sleeping with him?" She's like, "Well, have you seen the way he rides a horse?" I can't.
Okay. So
anyway,
you're the showrunner of a show, Jenny.
Yeah, I
am. And you're casting yourself in any scene that you want.
Okay.
And you can have a significant partner, a significant other to cast.
I love this.
Who are you casting as your significant partner?
He cast Bella Hadid.
He cast Bella Hadid. Who are you casting?
It is a toss-up.
Who are you playing strip poker with?
Does that have to be one person? It's a toss-up between my guy Glenn Powell.
I knew that.
And Jalen Hurts, if he ever wants to get into acting. I was not aware how respectfully hot Jalen Hurts is until the Super Bowl, which was, 2 weeks ago. And sir, if he ever wants to get into acting, I know you're engaged. I'm saying this with all the respect. I would cast Jalen Hurts as my boyfriend.
Nice.
Yeah.
Ooh.
He's very good looking. What about you? If you can cast yourself as a rodeo riding, strip poker playing cowboy, who's your significant other?
Oh, That's a really tough one.
I know you got me this time. Usually I get you with these questions.
Yeah,
You got me.
yeah. Well, I mean, Diane Keaton.
Shut the fuck up. That's amazing.
She'd be a great poker player.
Would she be in her like coastal grandma outfit, or would you put her in like
she wouldn't
cowboy
be in anything
quiche
by the time we were done playing poker? Hey,
Diane, you heard it here first. You've got a fan.
That or Julian Anderson.
Gillian Anderson?
Mm-hmm.
I love this.
Oh yeah.
I want to see Gillian Anderson in like the tight leather vest kind of thing that Bella Hadid was wearing. Okay. Dejan Page.
Mm-hmm.
He could be like from England and he wants to learn how to be a cowboy.
What about the gentleman? Our
Theo fucking James. Done.
Theo.
Cut, print. It's Theo James is playing. Yes. He would be like the hot developer who's going to take over the ranch and I would lose on purpose.
You'd be like, I don't know. Maybe I'll think about it. Yeah.
I think about a lot of things when it comes to Theo James.
Oh, right. Contains adult content.
Ooh, the whiskey is hitting. Okay, so
you are a lightweight. You're a cheap
I am
date.
a cheap date.
Yeah.
2 children to prove for it. Anywho.
Right. Here we go.
Okie dokie. Right. So 1923 is the second prequel. The first one was 1883. I didn't watch it. You watched it. You watched 1883, right?
Oh, I did. Yeah. Well, 1923 was so great. I thought, hey, this is good. The cinematography in 1883 looks great. Sam Elliott's in it. I mean, I'm a Tombstone generation guy.
Sam Elliott, love him.
Mean, put him in a cowboy hat with his mustache and just let him read the cereal box.
I'm in.
Yeah, I'm here for it. The writing in 1883 was just abominable. I could not. I really could not finish the series, and I forced myself to do it.
Bless you.
When I got finished with it, I thought I wish I'd never have watched that. It was just kind of I don't know.
Yeah,
I won't harp on it too much.
I saw the casting announcement, and it was Tim McGraw and Faith Hill. Look, Tim McGraw has done some fine acting in his day. I don't want to take away his flowers. Faith Hill, on the other hand, I have not seen her fine acting. It felt very stunt casting. That was my first response. And look, sometimes you can be pleasantly surprised, right?
Yeah.
But I had no interest because by that point, by the time 1883 came out, Yellowstone had gotten so soapy and so just we are hitting you over the head with the Beth and the like Kevin Costner growling and rips taking people to the train station. It was just paint by numbers at that point. The prestige really had come off. So
cut and paste.
Yeah, I didn't watch 1883, and that's how I felt, despite Sam Elliott. Because, like you said, I love Sam Elliott. When 1923 was announced, I was like, "Oh, they got Harrison Ford. Oh, they got Helen Mirren. Okay,
yeah.
I love the 20s.
I love the Roaring 20s, especially like rural parts of America in the 20s. Yeah. My grandmother was born in 1923. We have just a ton of photographs and books and images of my family during that time period in rural Texas. And so a lot of this is just connected with me, the costuming, the outfits that my great grandfather was wearing and great grandfather were wearing, and the dresses that my great grandmother and great grandmother and others were wearing, and the type of lifestyle that they had. Then Prohibition, much of the area where we live during that time period was dry because of Prohibition. So, people were bootlegging booze and making booze in caves and doing all sorts of stuff. Anyway, all of this I'm here for. I love the 1920s. Really around the world, something about the 20s.
There really is. Yeah.
Paris, 1920s.
You know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
I love the 1920s. And I think a lot of us have this kind of, golden nostalgic view of that time. It's right before the Great Depression.
Right. It's an interwar era. So you have an entire generation of folks that served in war and came back, and there was finally peace among nations. Yeah. And I think that really had an impact on how people lived their life and how they worked together, and how, community was put first. People learned to, make do and get by on very little. With the looming depression, it's just a fascinating time period.
But at the same time, you've got women chopping off their hair, wearing shorter, shapeless dresses, jazz music, prohibition.
That's right.
Saw, speakeasies and
it's like a small renaissance.
It was the exuberance. People were spending money and making money.
That's right.
And it was, we all kind of have that, oh, wow, looking back on that. And that should have been enough to get me, but it just didn't until you were like, hey, you should watch this. And about a month ago, I put on the first episode and I immediately went to episode 2. It's I want this Taylor Sheridan.
Absolutely.
This writing is this phenomenal. Cinematography. And again,
the casting.
Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren are professionals. That helps for sure.
Sure.
But man, it's a great show. The opening with Helen Mirren shooting the guy who, who's they've attacked their family. And Harrison Ford's amazing, but she carries this show.
I had to stop and was very confused because I thought I had missed an episode.
Yeah.
Because you're just thrust into the storyline. Helen Mirren is fantastic. When there's later in the season, it's just my favorite episode when she learns that Harrison Ford has been shot.
Yeah.
And they don't know what his condition is. Living during the 20s in rural America, I mean, it's like a wing and a prayer. You're hoping that you don't get fever and die.
Right.
You're hoping that, it's something that you can come back from, especially Helen Mirren. If her husband dies and she loses that ranch, what's the future look like for her?
Right.
There is so much on the line, and she comes out of that house after having cleaned up
the blood
from multiple people, including her husband, who's undergone extreme, surgery. And she makes her way, down a ridge, and she just collapses.
Yeah.
And she screams into like a towel.
I love
just
it.
to like finally let it all out by herself, so no one could see her. She was being strong.
Yeah.
It's just phenomenal. I mean, give her an Emmy for that. I don't know how she wasn't nominated for that episode.
Was 1923 nominated for anything?
I can't recall.
Yeah, so this show follows Helen Mirren as Cara Dutton. She's married to Harrison Ford's Jacob Dutton.
Mm-hmm.
He is the brother of Tim McGraw's character, John Dutton, who started the Yellowstone Ranch and is Kevin Costner's John Dutton's great-grandfather.
I remember
grandfather, correct?
I remember being at the beach and you were texting me. You were like, okay, hold on. How's everyone related? And I said, hey, you're going to have to Google the Dutton family tree. Because
we still don't know.
It's wild.
We still don't know because Jacob and Cara are the caretakers of the ranch because they came out at some point.
Cara has a nephew named Spencer Dutton.
Spencer and who's the other one?
Oh, the other one.
I got it right here. Jack Dutton.
Spencer and Jack.
And Spencer's the older brother.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes. And he was I guess he served in World War I.
Correct. Played by Brandon Sklinner, who respectfully.
Hot.
Hello, Dolly.
Hello, sir.
No notes. But so that's why I'm trying to do like the family tree. We're going to need an infographic. But Jack and Spencer technically will inherit the ranch. Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren's characters have no children. They take care of those two. But Jack and Spencer's father, John Dutton, he dies. He gets killed in the battle with Jerome Flynn's character.
Okay. Yeah.
And
that's right.
That's basically the whole, like the big crux of this season is Harrison Ford is getting into it with
Jerome Flynn, who plays Banner Creighton.
Yes, and who's a sheepherder, a sheepherder.
Yeah.
Ooh, I don't know what that accent was.
It's the like the free grazer sort of, mentality almost, And anyway, go ahead.
Well, no, like Jerome Flynn's character represents the sheepherders who we learn very quickly that even though the depression hasn't hit yet, they're starting to feel some of the effects of just, there's not enough food for all the livestock. Belts are having to tighten. They're running out of grazing space. And the Duttons have this massive ranch and this massive grazing area. Yeah. Well, the sheep herders are like, hey, the sheep eat the stuff that the cows don't. Can we just free graze? And Harrison Ford's like, no, you got to stick to your own lands. And Jerome Flynn says, like, hell I do.
Right.
he enters in a deal with what's his face.
Yeah, Harrison Ford's like, all right, well, come and get me with you and what army? And so
There you go.
Banner Creighton makes his way to our favorite villain of the series.
Come on.
Played by Timothy Dalton.
Love Timothy Dalton.
Donald Whitfield is the character's name.
Who's like the wealthy guy who's got electric power in his house and running
banker.
water.
Yeah. He's the money guy.
So he
wants to buy the Dutton Ranch.
He does.
He wants to turn it into open space for tourists to come and develop it, basically. Yeah, so they can make money. That's the future for Montana is tourism. Yeah.
So we're seeing the beginnings of that.
So the two are using one another. Yeah, Banner and Donald Whitfield are both using one another. Timothy Dalton.
Amazing.
I haven't seen you in a while, buddy.
He's great.
You're fantastic. Nothing has changed since, one of my favorite Bonds of all time.
I don't think he gets enough credit.
007.
He does not get enough credit for his James Bond. And I am not here for the Timothy Dalton as James Bond erasure.
So good. License to Kill. One of the best.
Come on. So in addition to Helen Mirren and Harrison Ford as Kara and Jacob Dutton, go down the tree a little bit, we have John Dutton, who is the eldest son of Tim McGraw and Faith Hill's Dutton characters. Okay. He's portrayed by James Badge Dale. He gets killed in the kerfuffle with Banner.
Okay.
His younger brother is Spencer, hot Brandon Sklinner, who's in Africa trying to find himself after being traumatized fighting in World War I.
John's brother is Spencer.
Correct.
Okay, so Spencer is also the son of Tim McGraw and Faith Hill.
Yes. Must have been an oopsie doopsie. So John is killed.
Okay.
John and his wife Emma have a child named Jack Dutton. Okay. Jack is now an orphan because Emma kills herself. Or can I say that? Do I have to say unalive?
Unalive.
Okay. Emma unalives herself after her husband is killed in the battle.
That's right.
Jack is engaged to Elizabeth Stratford, played by Michelle Randolph, who is in literally every Taylor Sheridan property known to fucking man.
Yeah. She's popular with the showrunner.
Popular.
And the audience, apparently.
We're not talking about Landman. I won't say anything.
Should we unpack Landman?
No.
Okay, great.
So she is pregnant at the end of the series. So you were correct. Mm-hmm. And we also have, in addition to, Spencer, while he's in Africa, meets Alexandria.
Oh, yes, he does.
An English, love you, gal.
That's great.
Your accent is not it.
Hey, they look great together.
They have their chemistry is amazing.
Every scene they're in is like a photo shoot for like Ralph Lauren in the 80s or something. It's beautiful.
It's the bright sunlight in Africa. It's very out of Africa.
It's very Robert Redford and Helen Mirren.
And I love it.
It's very Robert Redford and Meryl Streep.
No, it is. Yeah, and
I love that.
Are beautiful together. Yeah. Their chemistry is amazing. Mm-hmm. I put on, my notes. One of my favorite scenes of the whole series is when they're drinking whiskey, reading all of Kara's letters. Yeah. I love that.
And it's like warm, and I love like the lighting and the sweat. And
she's rich.
They're in their white cottons.
No, she's wearing a silky thing.
What is she wearing? Yeah.
She's got like a silk slip, and I love it. I love the character of Alex. I'm not trying to be too harsh. The accent threw me out. I was very confused sometimes, but
love the character.
I'm
love
not doing it.
Love the chemistry between both her and the Spencer Dutton character.
They're second to Kara and Jacob for me in chemistry.
I mean, they're easy to look at.
Very easy.
So, I think that's where the writing, especially in those scenes, it's interesting. I'm like, who's writing for Helen and Harrison versus who's writing for Brandon and
Alex.
Michelle.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, no, her name is Julia Schlapfer. She plays
Julia
Alexandra.
Stratford. Yeah, you're right.
Michelle Randolph plays Elizabeth Stratford. That's a lot, folks. And so
it is a lot.
While we end, the Dutton storyline with Harrison Ford has been injured in a battle with Banner Creighton.
Yeah.
And then they basically he's up and about towards the end, right? But he's still he's been shot.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know that the way that it's written and the way it's shot, they do a wonderful job of making the audience hang on. It's like, wait,
Is he gonna be okay?
Because it makes sense as an audience member. I'm like, is Harrison Ford really going to do more than one season of this?
Yeah.
Like what sort of television? Like what's his commitment? And I really love how they were like, and then all of a sudden he's up and walking again. It's like, okay, everyone can breathe a sigh of relief, including Helen Mirren's character.
Yeah.
And then they basically end up owing a loan. Like, didn't Timothy Dalton give them a loan? And now they're if they don't pay it back and they're in arrears, he owns the ranch.
Yeah, essentially.
Get a little wibbly wobbly at the end there.
Harrison Ford is friends with the sheriff, who's played by Robert Patrick.
Don't trust your soul to no backwoods Southern sheriff.
An actor,
Montana sheriff
that was popular in some other series.
He's great.
Films. He's great. It's just an all-star cast.
It is.
And so he's asking the sheriff to step aside and let him handle it the way that it's traditionally been handled in Montana, which is by force.
Vigilante justice.
Yeah, vigilante justice. And the sheriff's trying to cool everyone's heels. And at the same time, he's kind of thrust in the middle of this no-win situation for him.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So it's a fascinating story. I love the costuming. I love the settings. The locations that they have to film the show are just spectacular. Yeah. Had the pleasure of working on set.
On season 2.
Which
as of this recording comes out in a week.
With Robert Patrick and Brandon Sklinner. And I can't reveal too much, but I know that we are probably going to get a glimpse of the women's suffrage movement.
Is it suffrage or was it temperance?
Or temperance, yeah.
Where the ladies were really anti-booze.
Yeah, so we'll get a kind of a look at that movement that I know of, and I can't really reveal.
No, don't get yourself in trouble.
Else. Yeah. So anyway, but it was a lot of fun working on set with all the period costumes. I was able to choose my own hat, and I actually chose one which is like an open road, which is very similar to the one I have.
That.
Yeah, it's well done.
It is.
It's just a great production, and I don't know. I'm just confused as having seen the rest of Yellowstone, having seen 1883, and having watched Landman. This one just feels so different from its siblings.
It does, and I mean, the way that the other simultaneous storyline, with Tiana Rainwater, who is the grandmother of Chief Rainwater in the present Yellowstone timeline.
I did like how they addressed that topic.
Yeah, so she's an indigenous young woman who's at one of these Indian schools is what they used to call them. They would force these indigenous children, the local state governments would force these indigenous children to come to these boarding schools to basically have the savage removed from them. They weren't allowed to speak in their native languages, had to oftentimes cut their hair, which hair is very sacred and symbolic in a lot of indigenous cultures. Yeah. They had to choose Anglo names.
It was very harsh conditions.
They were beaten a lot.
Many of them died.
Yep.
And were buried without any sort of announcement.
Yeah, and that's kind of come to light in the last few years. A lot of these mass graves at these indigenous schools in the United States and Canada.
The show and this topic in particular are very apropos of what's being uncovered now. And I'm glad that we're having the conversation, and I'm actually glad to see this on film. So, kudos to Mr. Sheridan for addressing this topic in a way that I think is tasteful. Could you have gone further with it? Absolutely. And I hope that you can continue to cast indigenous actors and people of color and in your series as you move forward. But it's brutal to think about.
It's brutal to watch
what happened and to watch it. And I'm really glad that it's in there.
Yeah, she escapes the school after having a lot of back and forth with a nun played by Jennifer Eel.
Oh yeah.
Who I didn't recognize. Who she's probably best well known for playing Elizabeth Bennet in the amazing BBC series Pride and Prejudice from the 90s, which I love.
It's Bennet.
She's awful in this.
She really is.
And she gets what she deserves.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, she does.
When Tiana kills all the people, well, not all of them because she didn't kill the priest, but I felt vindicated. I was like, sorry about you. Sucks to suck.
That whole episode when she wakes up in the middle of the night and she's had enough.
Yeah.
Having been, treated the way that she was treated earlier in the day, and tries to recruit her friend and then apologizes and is like, I'm out. She starts putting on
The war paint.
the paint. I'm like, watch out. Here we go.
Yeah.
And it's understandable to understand, her reaction. She's absolutely had enough. And this is something that happened for generations of indigenous people going back to the Spanish colonizers.
Yeah.
And the Spanish
missionaries.
the missionaries and the missions that were built in South Central Texas and throughout the Southwest. And it's just, a topic that is not often addressed. And so it's nice to see someone shining a light on the subject matter. And I hope that it is informative for folks who didn't know much about it.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah. So the actress who plays Tiona Amina Nieves, I want to see her in so much more.
Mm-hmm.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
Her facial acting just blew me away. And look, I really, really hope that they keep the course on this show and don't go the way of Yellowstone season, 4 and 5. And look, I know there was a lot of behind the scenes stuff going on with Kevin Costner, but the character of Beth, they just obliterated that character.
They did. They just made it almost a farce.
And same thing with, Kelsey Asbill's character, Monica. I've got a lot of thoughts on the casting of Kelsey Asbill. Like we said earlier, they were just copy and paste and going the easy way. And they were going to give Beth as many sound bites as they could. And
oh my gosh,
they lost any nuance. And I just really hope they don't do that with this show.
That is a perfect way to describe it. They lost the nuance of the show.
Yeah.
And this is what the show is oozing, is the nuance. It's the authentic costuming, showcasing, again, the 1920s kind of rugged workwear and ranch, style wear versus the, along with the dresses that you see. And I love how the costuming from the America side, from the rural characters to the city characters, all the way across the ocean into the African continent, and the costuming that they had there, the cinematography, the expansive landscapes of rural Montana are just breathtaking.
They are.
The visual grandeur really highlights the natural beauty and underscores the vastness of that frontier life.
Yeah.
It's reminiscent for me of classics. I was thinking about this. I'm like, why do I like this show? And it's reminiscent of, for me, a combination of like Lonesome Dove and Out of Africa, which I'd mentioned before with the costuming. And there's something about that blending and this time period that is just captivating.
Really,
you almost don't have to do much with the script at all. There's just so much to go on in that time period. I love it. I love this show.
I do too. And I wanted to just kind of make note that you can tell that they put in a lot of thought. And I read, doing some notes and research for this episode, the first season cost $22 million an episode. Taylor Sheridan said it was his most expensive. It was the most expensive one that he's done.
Yeah.
Now, he gave this interview before Landman, so I don't know if Billy Bob Thornton, Demi Moore, John Hamm's salaries.
Landman does not look like a $22 million episode, but you're right with that casting.
I mean, who knows how much of those millions went towards Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren, but they filmed in Montana, in South Africa, on the island of Malta. They spent a lot of time and money, and I just hope season 2 reflects that.
Yeah.
And they just stay the course.
Yeah. They filmed some of season 2 in Texas. So
they sure did.
Here's to the Texas film cruise.
Cheers.
I think this series masterfully blends authenticity and compelling storytelling. To me, it's a must watch of epic television or streaming, I guess we would call it now. So I'm here for it. I'm glad that you watched it. I'm glad that you like it.
Me too. Thanks for the recommendation.
I'm really looking forward to season 2. What do we think is going to happen in season 2?
Ooh, prediction time.
I think I've seen the trailer. Have we watched the trailer?
Maybe let's watch it real quick. All right, so prediction time, theory corner. Let's go. Okay.
So we just watched the trailer.
We did.
And it hints at intense confrontations.
The ranch must be saved.
Evolving character arcs, it looks like. And yeah, the ranch is going to have to be saved. I did read more unfolding drama. I did read that Spencer Dutton lands in Galveston, and that he ends up spending some time in Galveston, and
Galveston, Galveston.
And I love how the writer put it, which is basically, and a storm is brewing, and not just in the Gulf, but on the ranch in Montana as well. And I thought
a storm brews when I look at him as well. So
okay, all right, yeah.
Sorry.
Well, where art thou? Why not upon
With me? Your wife's gone.
Yeah, your wife's been kidnapped. Jenny's available.
Kind of.
She looks similar, so it checks.
Wow, thank you. I can do a British accent too. Spencer.
Spencer. Fancy a spot of tea.
Hello, Governor.
Can you imagine
What?
this character coming off the boat? And you're just like,
Spencer, it's me, your wife, isn't it?
yeah.
Okay, all right.
Oh my goodness.
I do have to say, point of order, I'm even more like at Alex's accent because she's a duchess in the show. We find that out at the end. She's a Duchess of Sussex, was married to a prince, or was engaged to a prince. Her accent would be as crisp
Such a great scene.
Freshly pressed sheets.
Oh.
She would be, she would have a very posh upper crust accent.
Perhaps.
Y'all spent $22 million on this episode. Y'all could get a voice coach. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying.
How are the wigs for you in this series?
I'm not mad at them.
No notes. Yeah.
No notes on the wigs, man.
No notes.
The wigs are great compared to some that we know. Who shall remain nameless.
We love you, Nicole.
We do love you, Nicole Kidman. But girl, let's get the wigs. Let's figure it out. Anyway, so predictions.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I think that our boy Spencer is going to get held up in Galveston for probably much of the season, which is going to, cause Helen Mirren to just really stress out about, where's Spencer? When's he coming back to the property?
She says that I think twice in the trailer.
I know.
Oh, I wish Spencer would get here.
Yeah, and
it's taken him 3 years to get to the ranch.
6 times in the first season, she just is obsessed with Spencer coming home. And hey,
as am I.
We all are, but for different reasons.
Yeah, I think we're not going to get Spencer back to the ranch until the penultimate episode, maybe when things are looking real dire.
You're right.
And Spencer's going to show up.
That's it. I predict it's going to be a long journey for him.
Yeah. And he's also, like he says in the trailer, his wife has been kidnapped because we see at the end of season 1, Alex, they're on the boat. He gets dropped off at a different port. She stays on the boat and she's like, I'll come find you. And, they're separated. It looks like in the trailer, she gets kidnapped.
Yeah.
Like she's taken away screaming.
Right.
So I predict they're not going to be reunited until probably the last scene of the season.
I don't know how I feel about the two of them being separated.
I don't like it, to be honest.
They were really great on screen together. And I've seen this before where you've got people with great chemistry and then you separate them for the sake of the story and they just really don't hold up on their own. And I kind of get bored. I have a feeling I'm going to get bored of her storyline before it's over.
I hope they prove us wrong and maybe they reunite sooner rather than later. Yeah. But if they really drag that out the whole season, it's gonna be a tough sell.
It's gonna give me the ick. So I'm looking forward to the other half, which is the Harrison Ford, Helen Mirren, and Timothy Dalton, and the drama and the confrontation is gonna unfold in Montana. I think that's gonna be fantastic.
I have a prediction with the Banner Creighton of it all.
Okay,
I think he's gonna flip on Timothy Dalton. We see in the trailer, Timothy's really tightening the screws. He's having a meeting with everybody in tuxedos. And they're like, gentlemen, Montana's about to be the playground of the rich. Everyone's like, oh, see, yeah, haha. Yeah. And then we kind of cut to Banner, Jerome Flynn, and Timothy Dalton in a Ford, a Model T, looking at the Yellowstone. And he's like, oh, I'm going to buy this ranch. And Banner looks a little uncomfortable. And then he's like, where's that army you promised me? And Banner's terrified of Spencer. I have a feeling there's going to be a confrontation and Banner and Jacob will work it out where he can graze his sheep.
That's right.
And Banner's guys will turn and they will help the Duttons fight Timothy Dalton. I'm just going to refer to him as Timothy Dalton. Timothy Dalton's character, and then Yellowstone will be saved.
Great.
My fear, I really, as much as I love this show, I hope they ended at season 2 because I feel like if they drag it out,
it's going to be another season of someone's
yeah.
going to try to get the ranch. Here we go again. And it just, it's too redundant.
Yeah. Or it becomes so popular that, you know, the writing starts to slip a little bit, or you have the studio start, you know, putting their thumb on the scale, and nothing positive can come of that.
No.
So I'm with you. If they could wrap it up nicely at 2 seasons, I think would be great. If they go to 3, I'd really question, you know, what's the purpose and what's the intent? Where are you going with that after saving the ranch twice? You know?
And how much, like you said, how many seasons is Harrison Ford going to want to do?
Exactly. Well, I mean, he says he's ready to stop working. I sent you that interview the other day. They're like, what's next for you? He's like, to retire.
I mean, Harrison Ford has been cranking out the content. He was in Shrinking. He's been in this.
Love him in Shrinking.
He's about to be in Captain America as
the Red Hulk.
The Red Hulk, Thunderbolt Ross, which we need to check movie times on Friday.
Cool.
He's working. He's working late.
Because he's an actor.
He's great. I love Harrison Ford.
And I love Helen Mirren.
I do too.
And I love them together.
I wonder if Tiana Rainwater's path is going to cross with the Duttons at all.
I hope so. Yeah.
We see far too little of her in the trailer.
Hey, I'll tell you what. If you were going to nominate folks from that show, I would nominate Harrison Ford, Best Actor, Helen Mirren, Best Actress. I would nominate her for Best Supporting Actress.
She's amazing
over any other supporting actress in that series.
The way she emotes is
really.
Like I said, I love Jennifer Eel, but I was cheering for her death in season 1. So
yeah,
I really think we're gonna get Alex and Spencer separated the whole season.
Yeah,
we're gonna have Helen Mirren bemoaning the fact that Spencer's not there. We're gonna have Jack and Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's going
Lots
on with
of theories about who.
Do we think that we're gonna start? She's gonna already have had her baby, or do you think she's still gonna be?
I think she's still gonna be pregnant.
Like pregnant.
This is where we're going. Like, who are the real parents of Kevin Costner's dad? The next John Dutton.
Oh, maybe that's her baby.
Is it going to be Jack and Elizabeth? Or I have a feeling Jack Dutton's not going to make it out of season 2. I don't think he's going to make it. I think I just have a feeling
one of the brothers has got to go, and it can't be Spencer.
No, couldn't possibly. I mean, everyone's so and maybe they'll flip that because everyone's so like Spencer's on such a pedestal for everybody. Maybe he'll get got. Yeah. But I either think Alex and Spencer are going to be the parents of John Dutton II, and they're going to name him in honor of Spencer's brother who got killed and Jack.
Yeah.
Or it's easy peasy. It's Jack and Elizabeth's kid. Yeah. But
I'm here for it.
Somebody is going to die.
It's also somewhat confusing too, because there's a generation of folks around that time period who use the name Jack and John interchangeably.
Right. It was a diminutive of John.
Right.
So
who knows?
We don't know.
Who's going to be the daddy?
I hope Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren make it out, though.
I do too, and I think that they will. I mean,
think they will too.
I think there's probably going to be some sort of, wrapping it up nicely. I don't know what it's going to be.
Right.
Maybe they just kind of retire to one area of the ranch.
Or maybe Jacob Dutton does die and Spencer.
It gets so cold they freeze to death. I don't know.
What an image. What if Harrison Ford's Jacob does die in the battle to save the ranch? I don't know if you guys know the ranch must be saved. He dies in the battle.
What ranch?
The ranch.
The Dutton Ranch?
The Yellowstone Ranch.
The Yellowstone Ranch, that's right.
Yeah. Nobody can take it from the Duttons. Even though they most likely took it from the indigenous people that lived there.
Yeah.
But I didn't watch 1823, so I don't know what
Isn't it rich?
Tim McGraw was up to. So I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
Don't ask.
I could see it ending with Harrison Ford's Jacob dying, and Spencer and Alex are now the new heads of the ranch.
Yeah.
Jack has died. Elizabeth's living there. I feel like it's gonna end with Spencer in charge. He's been the prodigal son. He's been in Africa.
Yeah.
He married a duchess. He's like doing all these crazy things, and he comes home and takes his rightful place as head.
What if
the
Duchess's family gets involved and they take out the Timothy Dalton character because they got more money?
Now I could see it. But aren't they mad that she didn't marry into the royal family?
Yeah, but she still has her, her birthright. Her
I can see
her
it.
dowry.
Her dowry.
Yeah,
No
could
daughter
easily,
of ours will marry without a dowry.
could easily pay
Even
for
if
the
he is an
ranch.
American.
Exactly.
Yeah, they could.
Yeah.
They could. Or unless they're
Ooh,
like,
okay, I like this where this is going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Okay, cool. We'll see what happens.
Yellowstone. Taylor, we're here if you need some consultants.
Stay tuned. We will make every effort to attempt to cover season 2.
We absolutely
once
will.
it comes out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for a follow-up.
Stay tuned. All right. Hello. Due to an unforeseen attack on the ranch by some sheep herders, we unfortunately do not have an unhinged segment this week. But I'm here to remind you that Once More is produced by me, Jen Katz, and my co-host Ryan Something, who unfortunately still hasn't returned from his travels abroad in Africa. These episodes come out weekly, and you can follow us on social media. We are at Once More Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Threads. We'll see you next time. And remember, the ranch must always be defended. Cheers.